I'm going home. As far as I'm concerned, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, just go with it. If they're going to ban and censor you, they might try to put like a gag order. You know, Jerry Adams. It actually isn't him saying it, but maybe someone else saying it. It only make people more interested in the program, as we have seen over time and time again. As someone who does a podcast series, or I used to do one at one point, called BBC VMPAA, where I talk about censorship a lot. If you censor or keep something under leash, like shh, oh no, this is a bad thing, and if someone who is major and powerful doesn't like it and it gets on their nerves, it may incentivize people to see it even more. I should know. I was that child who couldn't watch this film legally in the cinema, even though I wanted to. As you can see with the 15 certificate, I wasn't 15 when it came out back in 99, but this should be a reminder that these guys, who aren't actually hard lefties, they're actually libertarian leaning. I don't think they really care what people think, they just go with it really. Even though South Park is not my favourite show, in the sort of adult animation sphere of things, that would be probably, obviously, Simpsons, which is number 1 or number 2 depending on who you ask. Even King the Hill and Family Guy are more interesting programs, but nevertheless, you can't just tell someone, you can't make a joke out of a leader. They may get upset, they might try to put gag order or try to censor you or put sabotage. But either way, they'll find a way to mock the powers that be it oblique or subtly or even direct. What's there to stop them? But what we don't want is situations where you have like a Charlie Hebdo where they go out, well, you know, government censorship and that, but we don't want creative people being murdered and attacked just because they said something that they didn't like to hear. That's a frightening descent into sort of self-censoring stuff, and they already know this very particularly because they had to censor an episode that depicted the Prophet Muhammad. I depicted the Prophet Muhammad in a documentary to try to prove a point, and I'm not, you know, some sort of like right-wing xenophobe, not some sort of like Nazi lover or anything like that. I believe in a two-state solution, a free Palestine, yeah. But, nevertheless, no one is above criticism, not even me. Even though I may not like it, you know, you gotta hit your targets one way or another. I'm just holding this up just to be a reminder that the South Park guys, they're slightly on your side. The kind of people who like Joe Rogan and Theo Von probably think this is a great show and a great movie. You're not talking like some sort of hard lefty. The person who tried to assassinate Trump was not hard left. He was right wing. Most people sort of forget that. That guy who even tried to attack him at that golf course, he was sort of politically all over the place. So, no, you know, do a little bit of research as far as I'm concerned, but to see the Satan character again mocking Donald Trump in sort of animation form, that sort of colour like that they use for the Canadian characters and Saddam Hussein, particularly from this film. There he is. You can see little Saddam here. That was a thing everyone was talking about, just like the war on terror and we're gonna get terrorists, we're gonna stop terrorists. And the IRA and everything. This was the late 90s and even the 2000s. That's why I brought up George Bush and read my lips, no new taxes. Even though when this came out, it was Bill Clinton trying to get a blowjob from Monica Lewinsky. Oh, that feels good. And for all we know, you know, Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein and Trump, they were all part of the same sort of network. So if you think, you know, you have to show your allegiance to the Democrats just because you feel like the Republican Party is so targeted, you may want to reconsider again. Bill Clinton is not your friend. He just got in there for the vote. And by using the, I'm the first black president ever going on Sandy Hall and doing the saxophone just so people can laugh and vote for me against Ross Perot and HW. A bit pathetic if you ask me, but it makes for a good laugh, and like that was very much widely mocked, but I don't think Bill had any offense to it or him having sexual relations with Monica. But yeah, Trump can take a joke. He was on Comedy Central Roast where he had like Snoop Dogg and a few others, or Natasha Leon, I don't know these people, and they were mocking him, and he was like swearing and stuff. I was like, oh, that's a side of him that we don't see. I mean, he's, for most people who watch this stuff now, they saw him swear and say, Israel and Palestine don't know what the fuck they're doing. Oh no, it was Israel and Iran because they were friendly bombs and attacks against one another. He was just like saying, don't know what the fuck they're doing. So, he likes to play naive and dumb, and he's all over the place. Really, I can't keep up with him. But as far as I'm concerned, without me going off on a tangent, censorship will only backfire. It may make people even more interested. We've seen that with more people getting into Kneecap and Bob Villon. More people will probably be watching Stephen Colbert out of sort of defiance, like, ha, the joke's on you. More people might see that Palestinian documentary, No Other Land, because of all the hullabaloo about it. And then the Superman movie, people are saying, oh, it's a bit super woke, Superman's an immigrant. It just might get people even more interested to see what is happening. Even on the flip side, all the left-wing backlash against Morgan Wallen, whatever the hell his name is, him saying the N-word, well, it got more people interested just because they made so much of a fuss about it. So, it works both ways. But nevertheless, I don't think they're going to budge. And certainly not Kneecap. You threaten them even more, they might come again with full force. They kind of hinted that, but, what's there to stop them, really? Screaming as I'm going home, how you like to suck my balls? But as far as I'm concerned, don't let Mr. Trump be essentially him, because the person that was influenced by this film, he was obsessed with Jodie Foster and essentially wanted to make some sort of statement for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you wanted to kill Reagan because you were infatuated by a teen or child prostitute. That just sounds crazy. That's really weird. Signing off.